An interracial love story. Can I get anything else for you? Sarah looks up at the young, smiling waitress in front of them. She shakes her head. No, I think just the check for now. As the girl walks away, Sarah looks over at Malik to see if he's checking her out. She was pretty cute after all, but he only has eyes for Sarah. How was your meal? He asked, reaching across the table and taking her hand. Good, Sarah replied. She leaned forward and smiled. Really good, but the company was even better. Malik picked up her hand and kissed it. I agree with you on that one. Happy anniversary, baby. It had been 1 year since they'd started their relationship, and Sarah couldn't believe time had gone by that fast. It still felt like she had just met him when he started working as a junior associate in the building next to her office. Do you remember our first date? Sarah asked, drinking the last remnants of her wine glass. Malik smiled. When I asked you to go out for coffee, how could I forget? I was so hesitant to go, Sarah admitted. Our difference in age. And the difference in skin color. No, Sarah said softly. That doesn't matter. Malik picked up her hand again, her pale ivory skin against his warm mocha tone. He leaned over and kissed her on the lips. Sarah was in heaven until she heard someone clear their throat near their table. She ignored it at first, but when the same person cleared their throat again, louder this time, she turned to look. Seated next to them was an older couple, and the woman was staring at them with a very disappointed look on her face. Sarah was confused. Had she knocked something over onto their table? Had she bumped them on the way in? She couldn't think of the reason why this woman was looking at her in such a way. She looked over to the husband, but he seemed to be completely oblivious to anything his wife might be doing. Sarah, baby, what's wrong? Malik gently nudged her chin back to him so he could capture her lips once again. Maybe we should wait until we're home, Sarah said, giving the woman a sideways glance. What do you mean? It's my anniversary, and I want to kiss my woman. Malik leaned closer to her until Sarah sat back altogether. Following her gaze, Malik finally realized the problem. Don't worry about them. She won't stop looking at us, Sarah whispered. Then that's a problem. Malik sat back and shrugged. Maybe she likes to watch. If she wasn't so concerned about the look the woman was giving her, she would have been howling at his comment. After she didn't respond, Malik grabbed her hand again. Just let it go, Sarah. But Sarah couldn't let it go. The woman wasn't even being subtle about it yet. She was now staring directly at Sarah, her brow creased in disapproval. Sarah turned back to Malik. I'm going to say something to her. No, Sarah, don't. Excuse me, do you have a problem with me or my date? Sarah turned in her chair so that she was now directly facing the woman. Sarah. Malik grabbed Sarah's arm to try and pull her back, but she resisted. The older woman looked at her, scowling. Sarah could feel other pairs of eyes on her now, watching the scene between them play out. Well? Sarah asked, prompting the woman to answer her. Sarah, just let it go, Malik told her through gritted teeth. Turning back to him, she could see he was annoyed. What, Malik? You don't think we should say something when this type of thing happens? Malik sighed. No, I don't. Sarah grabbed her purse and stood up. Fine. Have a nice night. She stalked through the dining room and walked out of the restaurant doors, while Malik hastily paid the bill. As Sarah made her way to the parking lot, she was raging inside. They had been having a perfectly nice time, and it was completely ruined by that racist woman and Malik's indifference. Sadly, she thought, this wasn't the only time something like this had happened throughout their relationship. Sarah, stop. She could hear Malik running across the rows of cars to get to her, but she kept going. She needed to go home. She needed time to think. Sarah, can you just stop for 1 minute? Malik reached her side, slightly breathless. Where are you going? I'm going home, Malik. I thought we were going home together. It's our anniversary, after all. Sarah's shoulders slumped, and she shook her head. I can't do this anymore. Malik's face turned serious. What can't you do anymore? This. Us. I just can't do it anymore, Malik. There's too many barriers acting against us. Every time we go out and do anything together, people stare. People don't stare, Sarah. Yes, they do. Tonight was a prime example, but what about last week in the park? Or when we went to the movies a couple of nights ago? People were staring and judging us. You've got to ignore them, Sarah. I don't see them, and neither should you. We should only focus on each other and not care what other people think. Sarah could feel the sting of tears in her eyes. She turned and walked the rest of the way to her car. That's just the thing, though. It's never going to stop, and I can't just tune it out like you can. Whether it's our huge difference in age. 10 years is not a huge difference, Sarah. Malik caught up with her again. Then it's the color of our skin. Even in this day and age, people still can't accept us together. People can't accept us, or you can't accept us. Malik asked her calmly. I told you it doesn't matter to me. Sarah crossed her arms. If it doesn't, then why are you so upset? Sarah groaned. Malik, I have to go. Malik stepped forward, placing his hands on her shoulders. I think you're making a mistake, Sarah. Let's just go and talk about this. I just need to be alone right now. Sarah opened her car door and got in, closing it shut a bit more forcefully than she intended to. Shaking his head, Malik watched as she pulled out of the space and drove out of the lot. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror as she went. And that's when the tears started to stream down her face. What have I done? She asked herself. Back in her apartment, Sarah changed out of the sexy black dress she had worn for dinner and changed into her pajamas. She sat down on the couch, glancing up at the photo on the wall of her and Malik, smiling back at the camera. They were so happy the day that picture was taken. Why couldn't every day be like that one? She thought to herself. Malik should be here with her, smiling and laughing and drinking the bottle of champagne she had in the fridge. She had bought it to celebrate their anniversary. But now it was just a sad reminder of how the night had gone. She'd throw it away in the morning, she told herself. She thought about calling him, telling him she was sorry and inviting him over, but she didn't. He hadn't followed her home, and that most likely meant he thought it was over. He had wanted to talk, but she told him no. But she hadn't meant it. She had wanted him to come after her, and now she had messed everything up. Unable to make it to her bedroom, she lay down on the couch and silently cried herself to sleep. Malik and Sarah were walking through the park, hand in hand on a bright, sunny afternoon. They found a bench and sat down. Sarah rested her head on his shoulder and sighed in contentment. Nothing will ever get better than this, Malik said. You're right, baby, Sarah replied. Malik's phone started to ring, but he didn't make a move to answer it. Aren't you going to get that? Malik, your phone is ringing. Malik turned to her. It's your phone, baby. Sarah woke up with a start, realizing that, in fact, it was her phone that was ringing. It had fallen off the couch and onto the floor while she slept. As she grabbed it, she read the name on the caller ID, Malik. She thought about not answering it, but quickly changed her mind. Hello. Sarah, are you awake? Malik asked her. Barely, Sarah yawned. What time is it? It's late. Can you do me a favor? Sarah blinked, trying to wake herself up. A favor? Yes. Will you come out onto your terrace? Okay. Sarah ran into her bedroom and grabbed her robe and slippers. She was a little apprehensive to go onto her ground-level terrace in the middle of the night, but she went anyway. She unlocked the door and stepped outside, looking around. Okay, I'm here. What is it? She says into the phone. It was cold outside, and she wrapped her robe tightly around her. She flipped on the porch light and peered into the dark. It's this. Malik stepped out from behind a tall hedge. Sarah gasped and hung up her phone. He was still dressed in the suit he had worn to dinner. He was carrying a big bouquet of red roses in his hand. Malik, what are you doing here? It's the middle of the night. Couldn't this have waited until the morning? Sarah looked at him sternly, but inside her chest her heart was racing. No, it couldn't wait. Sorry, but I had to see you. It's late, Malik. I know, Sarah, but I needed to see you. Why? I thought things were settled between us. She didn't really think they were, but she said it anyway. Is that how you feel? He asked her, stepping up onto her terrace. He held out the flowers to her, and she took them reluctantly. Thank you. Can I come in? He asked. I know you've got to be cold. Despite her hesitance, she knew that they couldn't stand out here all night. And pretty soon her grouchy neighbors would probably wake up and tell them to be quiet. She opened the door and held it for him as she walked inside. Let me go and put these in water. As Sarah walked into the kitchen, Malik followed close behind and leaned against the counter as she pulled a vase down from the top of the fridge. I couldn't sleep, he told her. Not after the way we left things, and I didn't want the sun to come up knowing that we were still fighting. Sarah brought the vase over to the sink and held it under the faucet. We're fighting. I thought we were breaking up. She regretted the words as soon as they came out of her mouth. Malik shook his head. No, we're not breaking up. Then what are we doing? Malik shrugged. We're fighting like most couples do. I think we're different from most couples, Malik. She grabbed the roses and put them in the vase, spreading them out. They really were beautiful, she thought. We might be different, but that's what makes us unique, Sarah. He walked over to her and took her hand. But we still have problems. Malik nodded. And we're going to work on those problems because I want us to work. I'm in love with you, Sarah. I have been since that first time we got coffee together. I want to spend my life with you. Sarah's eyes widened as Malik pulled out a small velvet-covered box. She gripped the counter behind her, unable to do or say anything. I meant to do this back at the restaurant, but now is as good a time as any too. He flipped open the box, revealing a sparkling diamond ring inside. Sarah, you're everything to me. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? A single tear fell down Sarah's cheek. They may have their issues, but none of it mattered now. Yes, Malik. Yes, I will marry you. She ran over to him and he caught her, pulling her close and kissing her deeply. Despite their differences, the love they had for one another was strong enough to keep them together.